Oh boy. Does that mean I'm on Tom's Guitar Show? I had to postpone my playing the Tom's Guitar Show theme because I can't really play it on this thing. Is that like wrong? I mean, but I'm having too much fun. This is a Ashbury bass. Eh? Huh? Uh, so this is the predecessor of the bass ukulele. So it's a real bear to get in tune. It's a yeah. I really got to do the Tom's Guitar Show theme, but I like.
Yeah, you can do it on that.
Well, I could do the bass part for it, but. Well, anyway, this is the Ashbury bass. They Guild invented this like in the 1980s, and they built it for like 2 years, and then they quit, and maybe that's what led to their demise. I don't know. And then D. Armand built them in from 2000 until 2002, and then I guess they stopped building them. There's like a whole cult following for this little instrument, but now they have a bass ukulele you can get, which has the same string. These are like rubber strings. They're like silicone, they're like big rubber bands. And there's the whole thing's about this pickup down here. Okay. And takes the vibration, turns it into a weak electrical signal. There's a 9-volt battery in here that amplifies the signal, and then that goes into the amplifier, and then there you have it. You can be as big and growly as a bass as you want. It has all the same notes as a great big bull fiddle, and it's this big. Anyway, that's the Ashbury bass. It's I fished this out of the basement, and it used to have these silicon strings, which are just like surgical rubber tubing. Basically, they're like rubbery things, and sticky to the touch. And but I know a bass player, and she's having problems. I mean, something wrong with her hands, or she's not making the extensions for the string bass. I mean, the bass guitar. Excuse me, the bass guitar that she needs to make, and it's becoming very uncomfortable. Maybe it's probably just a matter of adjusting. You know, you have to be careful where you put your elbow when you play something, and if you play down here, you can bend your wrist and get carpal tunnel or tendonitis or something, or joints and ligaments will go have problems. But so I brought this one out, and at that time I put it away years ago when it broke a string, and the strings were very expensive, and I put it away, and then so I brought it out and had two broken strings when I got it out, and but I showed it to her and everything, and then I went to the guitar shop there at the Musicians Pro Shop yesterday, and I bought a set of strings. They have these new strings. These are bass ukulele strings, and they're not sticky. They're actually much. They're smooth, but they're not sticky. Like this old kind of a rubbery plastic material. But anyway, so I put this on. I thought, wow, yeah, that's kind of fun. I can play this thing, But I have trouble because it's just so small. It would normally be about that far, on a bass guitar, or that far on a string bass. It's only this far. This is like half the length of a bass guitar finger length or a string length. And it's it's fretless, so I don't have. I mean, there's this stuff kind of painted on these lines where the frets would be, but. Yeah, you have to play. Yeah, you have to play a lot of scales to be any good. Anyway, so that's my little expose on the DeArmond Ashbury bass. I like rubber bands, so maybe I should get me a serious guitar out for a second here. So just take this out of here. Yeah. Kind of cool. I like it. It's made me, of course, search for bass ukuleles, and there's a solid body bass ukulele, which is like the same basic shape as a Fender jazz bass, with the same kind of strings, but the same scale length. So it's just a little thing, but it plays as low as notes as any string bass does. So anyway, where was it? Oh yeah. I put this in here. Don't nobody step on that now. All right, well, I said I was going to play a serious electric guitar, but I guess this is about as serious as I want to get on a day like this.
It's Mardi Gras.
Is this Mardi Gras? Yeah, it is. Ha! We have a Mardi Gras show every year, and I should have. Well, hey, I guess I didn't.
Yeah, this is it.
This is it. I didn't need to bring a funny hat or anything like that. I've got this yellow guitar. So
There's a green tie in the control room, but I think that's for St. Patrick's Day.
if I had a green tie on, then my neck would disappear. Let's see what I can do here. Wow. Problem with this amp is it has so many fun controls and things you can do with it that I don't know how to get it to behave. A lot of delay on that. You know, I still haven't played the Tom's Guitar Show theme. It's becoming a thing. Hang on, maybe I better figure this out here. So if I went on to acoustic guitar, and then we, yeah. Went up to that, we pushed this, a lot more pre-gain. And then I go into the edit mode and give it a little bit of delay, a whole lot of reverb, and yeah. More of that. That's too much. That's too much delay. Hang on. A little less, more of that, a little bit, okay, a little, okay, push this and whatever. Kind of like a jazz guitar. Well, it's good enough for now because I got to play this Tom's Guitar Show theme, so it's a... Anyway, so if you don't know what my show is about, this is, I'll say welcome to Tom's Guitar Show. I'm Guitar Tom. They call me Guitar Tom because I'm often seen with a guitar. They call me on the phone sometimes. They call me on the phone. They ask me questions. They say, hey, man, what's your show about? I say, oh, it's about an hour. About guitars. Guitar playing. Guitar players, all things guitaristic. So let me know if you want to have a question about, you know, the care and feeding of your guitar, what kind of guitar is right for you, how to play the guitar. You want to talk about some related topic like the guitarrón, guitarra, citern, chitoles, banjos, balalaikas, bazookas, mandoras, mandolas, mandolins, banjolins, bajos sextos, bouzouki's. Cuatros, cavaquinhos. Bandoras, bandolas, bandorins, pipe organs, piccolos, clarinets, clavinets, saxophones, sackbuts, crumhorns, quartholts, trombones and trombomarinas, harmoniums, harpsichords, harmonicas, harps, pianos and pixie harps, violas or viola mores, B flat and C clarinets, A and A clarinets, yeah. Why doesn't anybody play a C clarinet? That'd make everything really easy, wouldn't it? I mean, why do they have B flats? I never figured that out. I've always been a string guy. Why do they want to have like a B flat or an E flat instrument when they could have a C instrument and be just like the rest of us?
That is a good question. It may have something to do with the layout of the keys in terms, I mean, it may also have to do, I know the timbre is different. There are some, like in Bartók's Miraculous Mandarin, there are a lot of very elaborate clarinet cadenzas, and he specifies an A clarinet. And there's a slight timbral difference, but you know, I don't have that off the top of my head, and that might be a good research project for the next show.
You know, if you
we
could,
should know that. We in our
Yeah.
audience should know these things.
well, you're an educated man. Perhaps you could do this job.
Absolutely.
Maybe that'd be the thing for you to do, because I never figured that out. We have another, what do you call it, a parlor concert coming up in April for Co. So it'll be somebody's big fancy house in Cedar Rapids, and you know, I'm a lower form of faculty life up there, and so I played the last one. I played my jazz guitar, and I accompanied some singers and played some jazz standards with a string bass player. But what I would like to do this year, I mean, I don't know who else is going to be playing, but I was thinking there are various pieces that would be kind of interesting to do if I could find somebody else who wants to play melody on them. And of course, I relate very well with flute players and violinists, you know. But those clarinet players, I don't know what to do with them, you know. And the sax players, I don't know. They have their own thing going. They have to transpose everything.
Right. Yeah.
They get out the pencil and start, you know, and I'm never quite sure where to transpose it. You say, oh, see, so it's a B flat. No, it's an E flat saxophone. Is it alto saxophone in E flat or something? I don't know. I hear these things, but I forget because it's not part of my experience, you know. And if it's a mandolin, I know exactly what to do, what the notes are and everything like that. Even tenor banjos I'm fairly familiar with, and certainly guitars and things, and ukuleles, and bass guitar, string basses, even an Ashbury bass I know what to do. But I don't know, why do they segregate themselves from us? Why do they have...
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I do remember how to, when you write out a score, to transpose those instruments for score reading purposes, because that's what you have to do when you write out a complete symphonic score, full orchestral score. You know, everybody has to be on the same page, so you have to do the transpositions. So conductors, a lot of people don't understand what conductors do, but conductors have to be very facile at sight reading. You know, they've got to know their way around and transpose in their head and stuff like that. But when you finalize a score, you know, you have to do the transpositions as you write those keyed instruments in. I know a lot of it dates back to the origins of the instruments, when it may have been that was the most natural resonance for whatever length of tubing they had and stuff like that. There's probably some physics that go into
You
it.
get whatever length of tubing you want. I mean, you know, I suppose.
Well, if they wanted to get the optimal sound, you know, if they have, you know, probably limitations on what they have to work with, like the thickness of the wood and stuff like that. I mean, they probably, and they had to settle on things so that they weren't doing 5 different things within one country or one county or something.
Well, they have to standardize things. I'm wondering why they don't standardize it more, though, because, I mean, like a flute is a C instrument, and it goes right along with your fiddles and things, and it's no problem. But the clarinet is a B flat or something.
Well, like I say, the one thing I do know that there are timbral differences that, you know, an A clarinet playing the same note as a B-flat clarinet, you would get some timbral difference. And it could also be a fingering issue too. Maybe in the Bartok, there were certain fingering considerations, things that would be a little easier to play on an A clarinet. Although the music's not in any particular, it's not solidly in one key. It's very chromatic music, so I don't know if that would really impact. But yeah, I need to dust that up. I'm sure I knew that at one time, but specifically why. You know, you get the French horn, which is in F, or used to be in F. I don't know if the valve system has smoothed that out. And I think you have different keys of trump. Some of the brass instruments, I think, too, are keyed differently. So yeah, that we need to know that. This is part of the show, is to disseminate musical information and
Right.
educate our viewers. So
Spread
yeah,
knowledge and enlightenment.
spread knowledge and enlightenment. So I'll be on that. Yeah, I'll get into that because I'm curious myself. Because where was I talking? Recently, I was talking to a clarinetist, and I asked him, and he actually did the A clarinet, and so it's the B-flat clarinet is not the universal situation. There are those who vary into, but actually, if you want to be hired by an orchestra, you really need to know how to play all three.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be able
Well,
to
if you have to be, if you're a pro, yeah.
So
See, the thing, like on the guitar, it's playing like E flat is kind of a pain because you don't really have any open strings. I guess open G string if it ever comes up, you know, you can put this up, this is here, you know. So I was just looking on Green Dolphin Street and thinking about making it into a guitar solo. And if it's an E flat, the music I have on my music stand at home right now, and so I was playing it, and in E flat, it's just a real, you know, it's a bear. It's difficult. I mean, it has issues, you know, trying to get the melody and stuff. If it were an E or D, a half step either direction, it'd be relatively easy because I could have open strings for bass notes. I wouldn't have to have a finger on every string all the time, and you know, and open strings helps. And it's just, you know, it's easy to play in D or E on a guitar, or G or C, or, you know, but E flat. You know, A flat, D flat. I mean, that's kind of a pain, you know. I mean, what you could do is you could strap a capo on instead of playing in D flat. Just put that on there and pretend you're playing in C. But then you have to transpose everything. So I suppose what I could do is I could get like different sized guitars with shorter necks and say have this one tuned to. I mean, I could have one that's tuned up a half step. So you want to play something in E flat? I'll just play in D. I'll have to transpose everything because sometimes I make mistakes when I have to transpose, you know, while I'm sight reading. I'm not that intelligent really necessarily. I think some people have no problem with that. Sometimes I make mistakes. I can do well for a while, but if my attention wanders, I do something really bad. And
well, it's complicated. Musical notation is mathematics, basically.
Yeah.
You know,
well, you have to translate things on guitar too. There's
Right,
a trick to
right.
it. But I have some problems doing that, and so. You know, I could. I remember years ago when I was playing with Raimundo, he played a lot in E major, which is really good because you have like E, A, B. Io sono un hombre sincero, là donde crece la palma. So E, A, and then B. So I would, you know, play the fancy stuff and frilly stuff. But one time he was, it's a little trouble with his throat, and he couldn't quite sing as low. So he just strapped a capo on the second fret. And instead of playing an E, he was playing an F sharp major, which you know is, well, F sharp. In F sharp major, everything's sharp except for the B. And so, you know, instead of having 4 sharps, I had 6. And it just made everything. And then I had to transpose because I couldn't, because going up the neck, if I had a capo on the second fret, it wouldn't make any difference to me. It was when I go up the neck, you know, in fact, it makes it harder in some ways. So I instantly started thinking key signature for F sharp major in my mind. But that wasn't as bad as when you put the capo on the first fret, you see, and then turned, you know, the key of C into the key of D flat or C sharp. So for him, it'd be just like. Da, 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 da. then, but I mean, like, that's like 20 years ago. I've kind of gotten used to playing all the keys, but
Well, I think just like with your different guitars, and whether you're in bass or whatever kind of guitars, certain keys probably sound better on certain guitars than others. Would that be accurate, or
maybe. I mean,
if you have different string materials and things like
well,
that?
a lot of it, like on an acoustic guitar, the box is usually tuned to an A.
Okay.
So if you sing a big A into a classical guitar, the whole box goes whoom, it vibrates. So some people like to tune their guitars down a half step or even a whole step to get a different tone. But a lot of times it doesn't sound right. Some of my guitars, the higher quality guitars, it doesn't sound right to me. And some people do that all the time. The electric guitar, I'm not sure if it makes any difference at all. I mean, I regularly will capo a guitar or something. I don't regularly capo a guitar, but I have.
Well,
I used to.
I'm sorry, you were saying.
I was just saying I don't, but I used to. I have a couple students who, young kids, boys who play stuff. We listen to it on YouTube, and it's in a really difficult key. But what it really was whoever was recording it had capoed their guitar, so it matched their voice better. So I introduced them to the capo, and all of a sudden it's really easy. I have these because I mean, if you play let's say if I play a C chord, I can just go like this. If I play a C sharp chord, I mean, I have to bar all the strings. I mean, I can't. It'd be hard to. But still, this is. A lot of people can't reach that. So I'm saying it's really hard to play in some keys. On the guitar, it takes more advanced chord knowledge. And it's not a big problem for me, but if I'm doing a chord melody thing, like I'm making a guitar solo out of something, a lot of times I'll change the key to be something that's easier to work with. Another thing I'll do is I'll try to make it so the melody is going to be high, so that I have notes below it for accompaniment. And so I might take the melody up an octave, but maybe that's too high, then I'll change the key, and then make it so the melody is like here and the chords are beneath it. So anyway.
So, like if the original song is in C, you don't want to transpose the melody up an octave that's too high, but you might suddenly start doing it in G major, so you're only going up like five scale tones instead of an entire octave. And so,
right. So it's the melody be up a fifth instead of up an octave.
Cool.
From the original, and so it's like because if you do like like a. So. So if I put the melody up I'm sorry, I'm tripping. There we go. I mean, if I want to have a lot of room, a lot of notes beneath it to play the melody on, so I put it up, I put the melody up on a higher register, so I have a lot of accompaniment notes to make. So, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it gives you more room, more geography. It's a geographical Lebensraum.
Yeah. I got more territory up there. There's only one way to go. It was up. That's what I tell the ukulele players when they're trying to play melodic things. And say, play it high, because in the ukulele there's nowhere to go but up.
Yeah.
Because it's a higher pitch instrument. So.
Not a whole lot there.
But I do a lot of arrangements of songs, just popular songs and things from my various gigs. Which reminds me, I'm playing the Mendoza Wine Bar again this Thursday, and
getting to be a regular out in Coralville.
Yeah, well, I was there last month, which wasn't very long ago, and things didn't work out very well. It was an extremely windy night. It was not well attended.
Nothing's been well attended this winter.
Yeah, it was not well attended, and there was a couple of people who complained bitterly. They have a little cover charge apparently, and which I was not aware of. So they're pointing at me and saying, "Is this a joke?" said this woman. She has this cover charge, on her, and then he calls the owner or whatever, and then And then she's all like trying to be gracious about it and everything, and this woman's giving a terrible time, pointing at me. I'd charge for the band, and then she says, and then she tells this other guy who's sitting across from her, who's not connected to her in any way yet at this point, that there's this cover charge thing. And I was like, they were not informed, and this and that, and so the guy, says something kind of low and muttering, and then she says, and that means I have to leave right away. So she picks up her stuff and she leaves, pays her check and leaves for a bottle of mineral water or whatever. And then about 45 minutes later or so, I've been playing along, the guy folds up his laptop and then gets very irate to the waitress and says, I was not informed that there'd be a cover charge. I demand that this is taken off my bill. Or, I demand this is taken off my bill. European accent. And it was, and then the owner had to go over and talk to him and stuff. And I guess it took and then he left in a huff. But that's after he listened to me play for like 45 minutes or so like that. And I thought, wow, there must be a high cover charge, like $20. $3.
Oh my gosh.
It was $3, and it was like
these are people, first of all, in today's economy, not a whole lot of us can spend an evening at the Mendoza Wine Bar.
Yeah.
And so these are people that can have the discretionary income to enjoy an evening like that, and they're getting upset over a $3 coverage.
Yeah, $3 for, and that's less than half the cost, half a glass of wine.
I think, now I'm not saying that these people are one percenters, but there is a growing field of psychiatry for one percenters.
Yeah, could be.
And there's probably going to be something in the DSM manual about meltdowns over $3 cover charge disorder.
Yeah.
How much is? Well, we can't get into how much.
But it's less than half the cost of a glass of wine.
Well, there you go.
Right? And
there you go.
And I mean, you could have your baked brie, which is I'm sure very good, but that's like, I mean, I don't know what the baked brie costs, but it's a lot more than $3, and I mean, it's a place. It's a snazzy little place where you go. They have a.
Yeah.
And I was playing my very best. I was doing my kind of wine bar jazz gig, and with a hollow body electric guitar and trying to sound real smooth and stuff. And I didn't crack any jokes or anything like that. I wasn't being offensive in any way. I even shaved, but they're pointing at me, and that makes me So to me, my first reaction is, so you're saying I'm not worth $3?
Yeah.
$3.
That's incredible.
Well, these things, they happen, but people are. I mean, I don't know what. Maybe there's something else going on in their minds or something like that. But needless to say, I didn't get any tips that night. But
well, what a shame. Well, it sounds like a very nice place, and it'd be a great place to hear you play music. And let's hope that maybe they just need to advertise that there's put a little sign at the door or something like that.
Well, the woman, the owner, was a very nice woman from Argentina, and they specialize in wines from Argentina because the family has been in the wine business for 150 years in Argentina, in the Mendoza wine district of Argentina. So, and very gracious and nice woman, very fine person and everything like that. But she said there was on the website, on the chalkboard, there and on the menu.
So it was announced, okay.
Yeah, it was announced in 3 places. Now, maybe they didn't see the website, but the chalkboard was right there, and the menu, they had to look at the menu to decide what they wanted. Mm-hmm. So maybe they skipped this. There was no indication that there would be this. So it was just that the thing is, like, getting irate over $3 is one thing, but there's also something. Now, you think, like, a fellow like me, I've been through a lot. I used to play in places where the fights would break out. There'd be punching and stuff. Because, when I was a boy, I wanted to be a classical guitarist. And I studied it, in great detail, and played a couple of student recitals that I worked very hard for. And played a weekly gig in an espresso bar in San Francisco when I was 19, 20 years old. And then I, realized this wasn't going to happen. I could be a classical guitarist / professor of classical guitar, or classical guitar teacher, or waiter, or something. So I started playing this other kind of music. So, within a couple of years after my return from California, I started playing in bars, and there were actual fistfights that would break out during my performances. I mean, I would play in some bar, and then some of the people, And one thing I noticed, and I've read about it, like biology, is that there's a certain, like, primate behavior that people do there where women want men to fight over them, or men want to fight over women, but it's some combination. So the woman will set up a scene or two guys will fight each other. And you can imagine this is a very mammal thing to do, to see which one is the, well, which one
better
can protect her
genes.
better, who has the better genes and will be a better protector, or something like that. Even though they're just playing at this because there's no way these people are good. Well, they might get married someday, but probably not. This is like some sort of a barroom dance that they're doing. So what the women will do would be, entice two men and then give them both signals. And I was actually in one of these things, when I was setting up a PA system, and I didn't really realize what was going on. And then I setting up a PA system for another guy who was going to play guitar, back when I had a guitar shop. And then I turned to the guy who was about to try to beat me up and basically said, "Hey, man, I don't know nothing about this. I'm just working, okay? I'm going to work." And this is a real blue-collar kind of guy, so he immediately understood that I was just there working. And then, so I set up the PA, and I did the sound check and everything like that. And then there's a bit of a scuffle. And then I was leaving. The police were holding this guy down so they could handcuff him out, in front of the bar, because he had hit some other guy, which was, and then anyway, and then I ended up talking to this woman later because she was like flirting with me really hardcore, but I was kind of busy and I was at work. So anyway, so then after that happened, I became sensitive to this phenomena, and I watched it happen. Because the stage, when I'm playing guitar, I know where my fingers go, so I can watch the people. So now I watch people eating fancy food and drinking expensive wine. But in the old days, it used to be beer and fist fights, and maybe hot dogs or pizza. So anyway.
And no fist fights at the Mendoza bar, huh? No, but
Not the Mendoza. I've never seen it. I've never seen a fist fight at the Tuscan Moon
just in Kelowna. Yeah.
in Kelowna, and
Well,
of course, I've been playing the Journey Church too in Coralville, and I've never seen a fist fight
let's
at the
hope
Journey
not.
Church.
Yeah,
So.
gosh. Back to the cover charge thing, and like you say, these people may have had some other reasons why they reacted the way they do, but I have heard that waiters and waitresses will say that the best tips they get are not from people with discretionary income. They get it from other working people
Yes.
that sympathize and empathize and know that they're trying to make a living, and they tend to give more generous tips, and maybe that's an aspect of that phenomenon where,
Yeah.
and again, not to stereotype these people, they may not have been, well-heeled people that could just throw money around, but it does seem a little ironic getting upset over a $3 cover charge. Especially
In a wine bar.
At a wine bar,
Yeah.
at a nice wine bar that's providing live entertainment. That wouldn't even be $3. Wouldn't even be a tip for the what do you call them? The drivers that park your car.
The valet.
Try to give $3 to one of those guys in Chicago, and they wouldn't even take it. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Well, I've noticed is that the people who are a lot of times the most wealthy people don't tip me at all when I play. They get the Tuscan Moon. There are people there who have huge farming operations, and they drive very expensive cars and so forth, and they buy $100 bottle of wine. Don't leave me anything. I'll go by, say, sounds real good, and that will pass. And other people I've known, there people know what they do. People, other people around are knowledgeable about what their business is, and they're dealing with millions of dollars, and they're worth millions of dollars. But ordinary people are much more, middle class people are much more willing to tip. Although apparently the Mennonites don't tip very well at all, from what I've been informed and what I've noticed. So they're Mennonites, so there's somebody gives me like 13 cents, and it's this whole big table, been listening to me all night long, and then the one young woman, the daughter,
a
probably
penny for each person that was sitting at the table.
basically gives me like some spare change, and she's and it's like, but this is like a weird thing because they're not used to this, they don't know what to do.
Right, yeah,
And then they say, well, a bunch of Mennonites were in for lunch. It's a Mennonite territory, and a lot of the wait staff are Mennonites, and I think one of the owners grew up Mennonite, and but they they won't tip. They'll tip like 5% to the waitress.
And that may be just that. I'm sure some of them are still living back in the 1950s, or some cultures just tipping isn't a part of the culture,
Right.
And that could be just a cultural thing too. So
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, I shouldn't complain. This guitar's been paid off for quite some time now, and basically, so.
well, let's hear a little bit more of it then.
Well, I've been through this before, this guitar. It doesn't like to. I love this guitar, but I've been neglecting it for some time now. I don't remember the last time I was playing it a lot. Maybe it was Christmas? I don't know. So the strings aren't really worn out. It's just this been hanging on the wall, waiting for a friend. What do you think of this thing? It's I'm using this PV amp. It's actually quite an interesting creature. I have it's a PV. You can sort of see it. Yeah, that one. It's a PV Viper, and the thing about it is that there we go. PV Viper. It's a newer model of PV, and it's the thing about it is it has a bunch of effects on it, and also it's an everything in one amp. So the last tone I was using when I played that last song was a acoustic guitar sound, because there's two different kinds of electric guitar. I mean, two different menus of electric guitar sounds. An acoustic guitar for acoustic electrics and so forth, and then it has bass guitar. So it has, you can make a bunch of different acoustic guitar sounds, a bunch of different bass guitar sounds. So I use a setting for acoustic guitar, and I tweaked it a little bit to make it sound kind of more like a jazz guitar, which is an old trick that I learned a long time ago. I spent most of my time, my big hollow body jazz guitar days, playing my jazz guitar through an acoustic guitar amp, which was, is a completely different design. So anyway, this is a PV Viper. Actually, what is it called? It's the Viper 2. I am the Viper. I have come to vipe the windows. That's an old joke, sorry. So I think also cranks. I mean, I'm up to turn up to, yeah. I'm almost, I have the knob almost turned up to 2. And it, let's see. Oh. Huh. I never noticed this before. My volume knob goes up to 13. So we all know the joke about the Spinal Tap. His volume knob went up to 11 because they usually go up to 10. I have a PV Delta Blues amp that goes up to 12, and this one goes up to 13. Although I never had it past like 4, I don't think, because the thing is pretty powerful. It cranks. It has all these different tones you can get out of it, and it's pretty wild. Let's see if I edit this. So if I push this one knob in a little bit, I can get in the edit mode. Let's see what I want. I want pre-gain, and the low down, the high up, post-gain up a little bit, pre-gain down, and then yeah. Maybe I can turn the I turned the delay down a little bit because it. Anyway. Before we go, see, this thing is there's a whole bunch of other things too. There's a
Carnival sounds.
yeah. What kind of sounds?
Carnival.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. Hang on a second. That's sort of like a saxophone. That's your synthesizer thing, see? What happens if I push it again? I'm tempted to play the Tom's Guitar Show theme. I got like 1 minute left, or how much do I have?
About 30 seconds.
Oh, better play it real quick. Oh, I'll be back next week. I'm at Tuscan Moon this weekend. Mendoza Wine Bar on Thursday. The Journey Church on Sunday, 10:30. I show up and play, man.